My mother used to tell me that if I wanted to stay healthy and keep away the common cold, I need to take some vitamin C. Make sure you take your multivitamin in the morning. And at the gym, you hear a slurry of bro science telling you how much protein you need, how many supplements, all the vitamins you need to be healthy and muscular. Enter any health food store and the majority of the interaction they have with you is about pushing the echinacea or the ginkgo-whatever pill. It's an intoxicating idea. Take this relatively safe, secure pill, zero risk, all reward. Sounds too good to be true. It usually means it is. I'm not sure I'm convinced. Let's see.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Mind the Gap podcast, bridging the gap between your minds and everything else. I'm Keegan Gwydolyn.
And I'm Mackie Drew.
And our show today is called Whey Too Many Vitamins. Whey Too Many.
With an H.
Yeah. And this is our show about supplements and supplement culture. So, I'd like to get started off, Mackie, if you don't mind.
No problem.
And I'd like to talk about what may be the most pervasive health supplement out there. And that is, any guesses?
Vitamin C?
Close. Multivitamins. So,
all right.
Multivitamins, for those who don't know, are basically a once-a-day, all-in-one pill that people take to supplement all of their vitamins. You know, it's got like all the main vitamins in there along with some, minerals and, other supplements and stuff like that. With multivitamins, claims are wide and varied, but mostly they're extolled as a sort of health insurance policy. So they say like, oh, you won't get sick if you take vitamins. And sick can here refer to anything from the common cold to cancer. So there's a lot of claims associated with multivitamins. There's a nutrition supplement store chain called GNC. Are we allowed to say the names?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So GNC. And they sell a myriad of multivitamins, and written on their multivitamin page of their website is, quote, scientific research suggests that all adults can benefit from taking a multivitamin daily in conjunction with a healthy diet. Give your body some health insurance, end quote. And that was said by Frank J. Costa, MD. So
wait. All people.
That's all adults.
Okay. All right. Let's hear their evidence.
So first off, I'd like to point out that he says in conjunction with a healthy diet.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, do you really know that it's the multivitamin? And, how are these adults benefiting and stuff like this? Like, these are how we examine claims, we break it down, we look at all the components, and then we try to evaluate them. GNC's website has a variety of different vitamins, or multivitamin sort of packs, and they're sort of tailored to what you need. But they're tailored really specifically, There are some demographics of people who need certain nutrients or vitamins more than others. For instance, men tend to need selenium more than women. So, I could see a multivitamin for men containing higher selenium, or, a higher calcium for women because they're at risk of osteoporosis.
Mm-hmm.
However, they have classification based on diseases and conditions. So they have stuff like digestive health, healthy aging, heart and circulation, immune health,
that sounds
memory support,
dangerously close to medicating,
and stress. So the very notion that taking a vitamin can help you with, immunity or memory support or stress, this to me was sort of the first red flag. And there's no mention of what's different in these to make them better for those conditions. It's just a claim on the package, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the science of vitamins, the real hard science, for a moment.
I love it. Let's do it.
A vitamin is an organic compound, and organic meaning a chemical whose molecules contain carbon, as opposed to, organic food, organic. So a vitamin is an organic compound which is required by an organism as a vital nutrient in small amounts. These, by definition, can't be synthesized by the body, and so you have to get them from your diet. The typically identified vitamins for humans is vitamin A, B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B7, B9, B12, and then C, D, E, and K. And the thing is, you'll know these by other names, like folate, for instance, is B9. B6, I think, is niacin.
Beta-carotene.
Beta-carotene?
It's turned into vitamin A in the body.
Yes, that's right. That's right. What do these vitamins do in the body? Basically, they're coenzymes, and which means they're key for enzymatic reactions. They're needed for the reaction to proceed. So the bottom line is, every vitamin is needed for a different reaction, and they have slightly different reactions that they apply to with varying degrees of importance. But bottom line, if you don't have enough vitamins, you can have serious problems, but there's a cap on their usefulness. There's a ceiling.
That's the fourth time you said bottom line. When are we going to get to the bottom?
That is the bottom line. Bottom line, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a cap on their usefulness. Having more B12 or folate than you need does not really have any benefits, It's like if I'm working at McDonald's and I'm making hamburgers, having an excess number of buns is not going to help me churn out more hamburgers, right? I need all the components.
Yeah, or maybe there's just not enough orders to have all those hamburgers, right? If you got 1,000 buns and you've got 5 orders, you're not going to do any. You're not doing yourself any good.
Exactly. And what I'm going to do is those buns are going to go bad, so I'm going to have to throw them out, which is exactly what the body does. With all water-soluble vitamins, which are all the vitamins except for A, D, E, and K, it just kicks them out through the urine.
I didn't know D wasn't water-soluble.
It is fat-soluble.
Huh. That is news to me. Yeah, D is interesting because you can make it by UV exposure, right?
Yes, you can. It's a bit of a complicated thing, but...
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
It's like, one compound is converted to another compound and blah, 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 blah. So.
Yeah, bottom line, you don't have to worry about it, right, Keegan?
Exactly. So, because of this, sort of hamburger principle, multivitamins are only useful if you have a deficiency in vitamins. But multivitamins contain a lot of vitamins, like a lot of different vitamins at fairly high doses, but multiple vitamin deficiency is fairly rare. You sometimes get it with B12 and folate, just because of how connected they are. But even deficiency by itself is rare, especially in the developed world, and you usually only get it because of poor nutrition. So if you eat a minimally balanced diet, like I'm not even talking about like a health nut or, even a student diet where you eat like ramen most of the time. It's like even lower than that. If you have at least a little bit of variety in your diet, then you're doing fine. You're getting all the vitamins you need in more than enough quantities because our food is supplemented with vitamins. And it contains a lot of vitamins naturally. In fact, meats contain a lot of vitamins. There are a few groups that are at risk for having vitamin deficiencies because of their diets. So these are people like vegans or alcoholics or even young children.
Makes sense because, young children growing and whatnot.
And the fact that they're often picky eaters, and particularly if a child is on a bottle, they'll drink a lot of milk. So they'll drink like liters of cow's milk, and that will replace other foods that are more nutritionally diverse. So sometimes you get deficient, some people will get deficient, but the thing is if you get a deficiency, you'll be put on a supplement of the specific vitamin that you need. You're not going to need, like, why would you give a multivitamin if the person is deficient in B12, You don't need to give them, B6, B9, B2, A, and all these other ones, right?
It's like giving you wouldn't give somebody chemo who doesn't have cancer.
Exactly, but kind of not really
Not quite
the same.
exactly, but it's an analogy that's very inflammatory. So hooray!
Yes, exactly. You might say, but by taking a multivitamin, I'm preventing the occurrence of deficiency. I'm stocking up. But as I said before, all vitamins except A, D, E, and K are water soluble, which means that excess of these vitamins are excreted in the urine mere hours after you take them. The body has storage for some vitamins, like B12, which last several months, and they can be easily filled by your diet. You eat like a decent steak and you're probably full. Fat-soluble vitamins can actually reach dangerous levels if you megadose them, because they're not readily excreted. For instance, if you eat a polar bear liver, which is very, very high in vitamin A, vitamin A is stored in the liver, you can actually die from vitamin A toxicity.
Wow.
And additionally, vitamin E in excess, through vitamin supplementation, in fact, has been shown to increase rates of prostate cancer in men. So the overall conclusion for the multivitamins is, unless you're at risk, you're on a restrictive diet, multivitamins are not dangerous, but they're not really remotely useful.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Just bottom line, don't need to waste all that money.
Exactly. All you're buying is expensive pee. And now I'm counting the times you say bottom line.
No, I'm mocking you still.
I know. So the other supplement that I wanted to talk about is omega fish oils.
Popular.
Yeah, there are two big claims surrounding omega fish oils. And they're both really they're both the cause of what I read is 95% of the current supplement sales. So most people are buying omega fish oils, apparently. The two big claims is that they protect against heart disease and have a beneficial effect on cognitive function. And you may have heard the expression, I know I did, when I was a kid. My mom would always try to make me eat fish by saying that it's brain food.
Yeah,
it's
I always
make you
heard
smarter.
that. And I haven't heard it in years. Is that fallen out of favor, or is that like just something parents tell children?
Apparently it's, still said. What I think is the etymology of it originally is actually because it used to contain tuna used to contain dolphin, right? And dolphins are smart, so I think that may have been the etymology of it. I haven't confirmed that. But in any case, it was, it was picked up and people started believing that, omega fish oils, confer cognitive benefits. But other claims include benefits regarding cancer, inflammation, developmental disorders, psychiatric disorders, and cognitive aging. So let's go back into the science again for a moment. Most omega fish oils are omega-3 and omega-6. And these are compounds called fatty acids, and they have varying lengths. And the 3 and the 6 refer to places where they have double bonds in their chains. So all molecules are composed of atoms that are held together by bonds. You can have things that are single bonds where they share 2 electrons, or you can have double bonds where they share 4 electrons between 2 atoms. So places where there are double bonds are denoted by the 3 and the 6 in omega-3 and 6.
I had no idea. That's actually really interesting. I thought those were just like designations. I didn't know those were actually referring to the chemical structure. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. What it is how in chemistry class you number carbons in a chain starting from the active group.
Yeah.
In nutrition, you do it the opposite way. You start from the far end of the fatty chain.
That is so annoying.
And it's the omega. So you count, from the omega end, so the methyl end of the fatty acid, you count 3 carbons, and then that's where the first double bond would be in omega-3. And likewise for omega-6 would be at the 6 carbon.
Maybe the nutritionists just need to talk to the chemist for a minute, and we'll see what we can get figured out.
In any case, that's what the omega-3 and 6 refers to. So it's 3 carbons from the omega end or 6 carbons from the omega end. Both of these compounds are what we call essential fatty acids. And essential fatty acids, or EFAs, like vitamins, are compounds needed for the body to function properly and can't be synthesized by humans. It has to do with the inability to alter that double bond. And these EFAs are modified to make signaling factors that allow parts of your body to talk to other parts. They're kind of like giving your body paper so that it can write a letter to another part of the body.
That's cool.
Yeah. And they also have some other functions that are sort of peripherally related. But that's the main function. And these fatty acids are present in several dietary sources. So you get them from fish and shellfish, typically. You also get them from flaxseed, hemp seed, soya oil, canola oil, which is a Canadian invention.
Oh, that's nice to know. And I heard canola oil is like pretty good for you too.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty good. It's a Canadian hybrid plant. Canola is.
Oh, really? I didn't know it was a hybrid plant either. Look at all these things I'm learning. Luckily, you're listening to Mind the Gap.
Yeah. Yeah, the can in canola stands for Canada. So.
Wow, that's astounding. Yeah. All right.
Chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, leafy vegetables, and walnuts are all sources of these essential fatty acids. And so, if we're talking about the evidence for these claims, studies that were on the risk of cardiovascular disease and improved cognitive ability with EFA supplementation showed no effect for those on a standard healthy diet. So, nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's so prolific. I hear that all the time. My dad just had a quadruple bypass a couple months ago, and he's on all that stuff. I gotta go tell him.
Yeah. So there were some studies that, talked about it might affect recurrence risk for people who've had heart attacks, might affect recurrence risk for stuff like that.
Okay.
But in terms of, like the normal average person on a standard developed nation diet, standard Western diet, don't eat it. Again, it boils down to having a healthy diet, and if you do, you're probably fine. In fact, there are some adverse effects.
Oh, this is interesting. I love when things get turned around.
Yeah.
Oh, you thought this was healthy. Oh, just you wait. All right, carry on.
Excess intake of EFAs, the supplements, so greater than 3 grams per day.
That's a big amount, though,
That
isn't
is
it?
a lot.
Okay.
But it's linked to increased risk of bleeding, hemorrhagic stroke, increased number of oxidants. So, you know how you take antioxidants? That's like a big thing, apparently. Yeah, this increases your oxidants. It increases your LDL, which is your bad cholesterol. Reduces control over blood sugar if you're diabetic. So that last one is kind of, only applies to some people, but still. It's important.
Yeah. Again, all things in moderation. Be careful is really the bottom line that we've boiled down to.
There's one more thing. The promising research on the side of essential fatty acids is they seem to have a potential benefit for depressed people. So it may help in some cases.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what the mechanism is behind that.
Yeah, that seems weird to me, but you know what? We'll see what comes up in the research. A good story, I before we move on to my segment, about the idea that eating carrots is giving you better eyesight, or night vision, rather. You've heard of this, right?
Of course.
You've heard the myth?
Yes, of course.
Have you heard the story behind it?
No.
Okay, well,
I know the science behind it.
So actually, it's not true. It doesn't, eating carrots all the time does not help your vision any more than just not eating, just having, a normal healthy diet. The idea is that, back in World War II, when they invented radar, I'm always mixed up the wars. Whichever one they invented, World War II, they invented radar. And that was to detect the planes, right? Now, that was England who invented radar, but they didn't want to tell the Germans how they did that. So they didn't want it to leak out, so they had to tell the public, how are you detecting all of these planes? Right? All the UK public wanted to know. So they said, we feed our soldiers plenty of carrots and improves their night vision so they can see the planes in the sky.
I think I have heard that, actually.
That's not true. It's just that was the excuse they came up with because they didn't want to say anything, So actually, the Germans came up with fields of carrots to feed their own soldiers. And it worked. It was a great myth, but it stuck around, and eating carrots does not improve your night vision. I'm sorry to say.
So, but there is some scientific link because carrots contain a lot of vitamin A precursor.
Yeah, I thought that was the proposed mechanism.
Vitamin A is involved in eyesight.
Yes,
heavily
it is
involved in eyesight.
But it's another one of the, if you have any kind of diet, like you eat enough food in a day, you're fine kind of deals.
Exactly.
Like have McDonald's every day, you'll be fine. Literally. I mean, you won't be fine everywhere, but you'll be fine there.
You won't have any vitamin deficiencies.
All right. So anyway, on to my segment. I wanted to talk about workout supplements. So, I don't go to the gym a lot. And when I do, I don't use any of the supplements. You see people with protein powder, and you've seen it, right?
Of course.
Guys walking down the street mixing in some protein powder into their water bottles, and then they drink a milky fluid the whole way to the gym. When you're there,
appetizing.
You constantly hear some bro science about what you need and what quantities.
Can you define bro science for me?
Bro science is the kind of thing that you pass around at the gym. It's kind of self-contained. It's the idea where you're like, muscles are made out of protein, so you should have all this protein, you'll get more muscles, that kind of thing, Or, you get energy from sugar, you should have a lot of sugar, and then you'll be more energy, like that kind of thing. Yeah, it's usually just woo.
Based on very, very kindergarten understandings of scientific topics.
Exactly. You understand a little bit, and then you make a big proposal about it. That's bro science.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to talk about some of the main supplements that people take and the science behind them, whether or not they're legitimate. And, so I went to a couple health food stores, and I asked around, and what is the most popular supplement that you have?
Oh, nice.
So I did a little bit of research, and I found out, a list of a few. So I'm going to tell you whether or not I think these supplements are good, bad, or ugly.
Nice.
So, first one I want to talk about was the most prolific I found was, whey protein or protein powder in general.
So this is our, podcast title namesake.
Yes,
the
exactly.
eponymous powder.
Yeah, so the idea is, people want to increase the amount of muscle they gain. That's the whole point of going to the gym, really. Yeah. In most cases. And the idea is that people want to take protein so that they eliminate that as the limiting reagent for their workout. So, they work out a lot, and if their body doesn't have enough protein to make muscles, then they're not going to get the muscles that they deserve, the muscles that they worked for, right?
Right.
So they like to, put in, they like to supplement their diet with a lot of protein just in case, I suppose. The problem is, we have a certain, limit to how much protein we can intake. It's like trying to, when you mix in sugar with water, you try to dissolve it, and it doesn't always dissolve, right? There's a certain limit where you can't mix that in to the point where there's still, dust at the bottom. Even though it's in a liquid, it might be hot, and it's still not dissolving.
Yeah.
The same thing happens with protein. No one disputes, this is complete consensus, that if you're bodybuilding, you need more protein. That is true. Absolutely. How much is really the crux of the matter. So, you can only actually metabolize about 5 to 9 grams of protein per hour. So anything beyond that limit is a complete waste of money, time, whatever you're putting into getting that protein.
Right.
And, if you're having too much protein, it can cause things like renal damage, osteoporosis, and diarrhea. So, it's all a matter of dose. And finding the right dose of protein was really difficult. As far as I can tell, most of the research suggests that any normal person who has moderate exercise, whatnot, needs about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram per day.
Okay.
So based on your body weight, you'd have more or less.
All right.
But if you work out heavily, you can go from 1 gram to 1.9 grams is an absolute maximum, as far as I could tell from any scientific literature. So, theoretically, a person could benefit from getting protein, taking protein supplements, but not, like we talked about, if you have a healthy diet, you're not really going to have to worry about that. You don't need as much protein as you take in. You probably have enough based on any normal, reasonable diet.
Yeah.
If you're serious,
especially developed nations, we eat a lot of protein.
Oh yeah, for sure, because it's expensive, and that's something we love. So, if you're a vegan, a vegetarian, you might benefit heavily from a protein supplement.
Yep.
But as far as like a normal general person, maybe take a day or a week and measure your protein intake and see if it actually is worth going for all that protein. I think I do give this a verdict of good, because it's not bad. There's very few risks, and you need a lot of protein to have a problem.
Yeah.
And it might help some people. So I'm going to say this is good. You can have protein powder. That's fine. I am going to go out on a limb and say probably most people taking protein powder don't need it.
Yeah. I think that's probably true.
Yeah. Now, here's one that surprised me. So creatine, you've heard of it?
I have.
All right. So yeah, it's produced in our own bodies and by our livers, and it helps supply energy to the cells of our body.
Right.
Primarily muscles. So, it makes sense. It's good to be associated with workouts.
Yep. It's I think anyway, fulfills a similar role to ATP.
Yeah, it helps the delivery of ATP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah. It trades in the economy of our own body's energy delivery system. So myostatin is a protein that has a catabolic effect on skeletal muscle.
So it breaks
limits
down skeletal muscle.
Sorry, what?
So it breaks down skeletal muscle?
Exactly, yeah. And it basically limits the growth of muscle.
Gotcha.
So the idea is it acts against the body growing muscle.
Gotcha.
And in a study from 2011, chickens were fed creatine for 42 days, and the myostatin levels were significantly decreased compared to the control. So that could possibly work as a way to counteract your body breaking down muscles. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
so
I'd like to see a study in humans, but...
Oh, plenty. In 2010, it was found that 8 weeks of resistance training together with creatine supplementation resulted in lower serum myostatin levels compared to 8 weeks of resistant training and placebo. So you were found to have less myostatin in humans in 2010. So you're actually having quite a significant role there, at least statistically significant. And there's a lot of reported effects.
See, that's interesting. I thought that there would be a problem absorbing creatine from the, GI tract. I didn't think it would be, I thought it would be, broken down.
That's exactly what I thought. But no, it seems to actually be working, which is astounding to me. Yeah, I wondered the same. But apparently a lot of the digestion's done in the mouth, where there's a lot less volatile nature to the absorption. But yeah, there's a lot of reported effects that aren't true, like cancer stopping and whatnot, but a lot of people aren't making those claims. A lot of people are making the reasonable claims. So it's looking overall great, actually. And I looked really, really hard for risks, and there's actually not really many risks. Like even up to 20 grams per day. There was a meta-analysis in 2008 that found no abnormalities in renal, hepatic, cardiac, or muscle function.
Nice. So that's kidney, liver, heart, and muscle.
Yeah. So you're pretty much all clear. Although there's obviously a caveat, because nothing can give you all that without taking something away.
The principle of equivalent exchange.
Yes, you can't gain anything. Anyway, sorry. Full Metal Alchemist. So 50% of 33 randomly selected creatine supplements on the market contained unsafe levels of at least one heavy metal or organic contaminant.
Really? Wow.
So the problem isn't the chemical. The problem is the delivery mechanism.
It's the purity.
Yes, people are selling you crap. So you kind of have to worry about that. You should probably find a reputable brand if you're going to get it. Find something that's been studied to no end. Oh, and one more thing. Sorry. If you have asthma, apparently that may have some problems with, creatine supplementation, according to the Mayo Clinic.
Interesting.
Again, something just to worry about. Maybe, it's not got a lot of evidence towards it so far, but it is something to worry about if you do have asthma. But yeah, it's, apparently, it does not affect, hydration, which is a concern before, and it does not affect heat tolerance. So, and it doesn't lead to muscle cramping or diarrhea either, which were all purported side effects of creatine in the past. So I've never taken creatine. I probably won't, but it looks all clear. Honestly, I'm giving it more than a verdict of good. I'm giving it an astoundingly surprised.
Nice.
Yeah. So, another one that I was kind of shocked by, a common workout supplement is caffeine. So, apparently people use caffeine to get a more, like a better performance out of themselves. Obviously, right? It makes you energetic. But yeah, apparently, caffeine in a dose of 3 milligrams per kilogram, in the form of an energy drink, improved half squat and bench press maximal muscle power. And here's something that's interesting. I didn't know. I always heard that caffeine increased heart rate. And there's not terribly good evidence for that. Or rather, there's good evidence to the contrary as well. I looked on both sides, both solid methodologies in many of the studies I checked out, and neither seem to agree. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a good scientific consensus about caffeine and heart rate yet.
How odd.
Isn't that odd? It's like one of the most consumed things.
Well, one of the things that could be a factor here is that people metabolize things differently. So it may be the case that, half of the people have, some high metabolic rate for caffeine, which helps them break it down faster, and so they don't see the side effects as much. Whereas half the people don't have that, and you would see side effects. So it might be something that's, more individualized based on genetics.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I'm not sure if there was a study done looking at that sort of thing. Yeah,
it's shocking to say the least that something so widely used doesn't have more evidence.
Yeah.
To show these kind of symptoms. But yeah, it doesn't seem to have I would err on the side of it probably doesn't, as far as I've seen.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, moderate use of caffeine can also improve sprint endurance and team sports performance.
Team sports, specifically.
Yes. Specifically, they studied team sports.
That's odd. Okay.
But yeah, it wasn't a very large performance increase, so don't worry too much about it. But there are some risks to caffeine. Overuse can lead to addiction and insomnia and having to pee a lot more. It can lead to kidney damage in very, very extreme cases. And it can lead to increased blood pressure, at least. But the risks are extremely low, honestly, for caffeine. And it's not terribly it's got a mild increase, and people use it anyway. So I'm going to say it's probably an all right. I'm going to give it a good because it's so widely available and the risks are low, Yeah, so good help. So this is one that I was actually brought a couple years ago, and I didn't come to a verdict then, but I had to for the episode, which is another very common one, L-carnitine, which is it's actually essential in the body. It's produced by your liver, and it has a role in fatty acid metabolism. The thing is, though, it's taken as a testosterone boosting supplement, which I don't get at all. Because I can
kind of get it. I mean, fatty acid metabolism, testosterone is a steroid hormone, so it's kind of fatty acid derived.
Yes, if you say enough words, you can get there. We are on Earth. No, there's not ever been anything looked into. It's never been claimed to do that. It's all like supplement and health food stores that have done the claims for that.
Very weird.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I think it's just the word carnitine. It's like, carnivore, masculine.
Maybe. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, yeah, I couldn't find anything
if you say enough words, you can just link.
If you say enough words, you can get anywhere. Yeah. I give it a verdict of bad, is really it. There's nothing at all. If you're taking it for testosterone boosting, you're doing yourself a disservice. There's no risks, but it's stupid because there's nothing for it. Here's another one, glutamine. All right, so glutamine is a conditionally essential amino acid. Are you familiar with the term?
So under certain circumstances you need it, but not all the time.
Yes, if you're a healthy, normal individual, you won't need glutamine. But in the case of when you're injured or sick, you may need glutamine. Or rather, you do need glutamine. And it's actually been found to be fairly effective at reducing recovery time after surgery. But it's marketed towards bodybuilders to help them stimulate the growth, or stimulate production of growth hormone. And it does, actually, in very, very small amounts, and just a little bit, for a very short while, in one study. So, I'm pretty pessimistic about this one. I think the evidence is, like, less than incredible for this.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, like, as far as the studies go, they're pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough to act on it. And it's pretty tough to overdose on an amino acid, so there's not really any risks. But I'm going to give it a bad. It would be the
same as protein, right? You'd get like renal failure, all that stuff. So.
Yeah, exactly. But glutamine in itself, just as an amino acid, it's very hard to overdose on because it's very easy to get rid of just because it's an amino acid, right? Not a protein where you just can you have to break down a protein to get rid of it, right?
Well, the whole idea though is like proteins are going to be broken down before they're absorbed. They're absorbed as amino acids, and then the clearance, the like high stress on your kidney to clear all those amino acids out of your blood is going to be what causes renal failure.
The glutamine, however, is usually given in much smaller doses than would be causing these sort of problems.
So you need to take like 30 grams of glutamine.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that, or I would hope you wouldn't. In fact, I'd hope you wouldn't take it unless you've had surgery, because I'm giving this a conditional bad.
All right.
Because it's not good evidence, and I don't think there's gonna be good evidence, but it's not enough to say that it doesn't work.
Gotcha.
You know. Now for the ugly. Steroids. So, I wanted to talk about steroids because, apparently, I thought everybody knew this, but they're really, really bad for you. Anabolic steroids are really bad, but apparently 1% of the US population has abused steroids in the past for muscle gain, and 80% of those users are non-competitive bodybuilders or non-athletes, so they're just doing it for looks. And that's pretty scary to me. So I thought I would take this opportunity to force you all to hear a list of the side effects of steroids. All right. Liver damage, stunted growth in adolescence, accelerated bone maturation, increased frequency and duration of erections, premature sexual development in adolescence. In adolescence, it is also correlated with poorer attitudes towards health. Alterations in the structure of the heart, such as enlargement and thickening of the left ventricle, hypertension, cardiac arrhythmia, congestive heart failure, heart attacks, sudden cardiac death, immune system damage, elevated blood pressure, harmful changes in cholesterol levels, increased risk of cardiovascular diseases and coronary artery disease, acne, accelerated rate of balding for males genetically predisposed, and this is just in males, development of breast tissue.
In males?
Yeah. Reduced sexual function, temporary infertility, testicular shrinking, in females only, increased body hair, balding, permanent deepening of the voice, enlarged clitoris, temporary decreases in menstrual cycles, and it's also very harmful to fetal development, and it can cause male features in females and female features in males. So don't do it. Stop it now. This is the ugly one, and don't do it.
So with all this, you might wonder why people do this. You know, there's no evidence for it. So why do we supplement? Well, it all kind of started on February 28th, 1901. in Portland, Oregon, where a boy was born named Linus Carl Pauling. By 1916, at 15 years old, he almost had enough credits to enter college. He was missing 2 courses in American history. His principal refused to let him take the courses concurrently in the spring semester like he wanted, so he dropped out of high school and never received his diploma until 45 years later after winning 2 Nobel Prizes.
Wow.
In September 1917, he went to Oregon State University, from which he graduated in 1922 with a degree in chemical engineering, after which he went to Caltech for his PhD in chemistry and mathematical physics.
Whoa, he did this all without American history?
Yeah, surprising, I know. So he graduated with his PhD 3 years and 7 papers later in 1925. Just for, context, nowadays it takes 5 to 7 years to get a PhD in science.
Wow.
Yeah. In 1954, he won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his work on the nature of the chemical bond. He also elucidated the molecular mechanism of sickle cell anemia, essentially founding the field of molecular biology. And he also won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1962. Naturally, when he started extolling the virtues of megadosing vitamins, particularly vitamin C, people were inclined to believe him. In 1966, Pauling mentioned at a talk that he was giving that he hoped to live another 25 years because he loved reading about the discoveries of other scientists, and he just wanted to see how far things would go. And shortly thereafter, he received a letter from a man who called himself Dr. Irwin Stone. Turns out he did 2 years of college, dropped out, and then got an honorary PhD in chiropractic from some university that's since been defunct.
We've had that show.
Yeah. But anyway, this letter from Dr. Stone said that if Pauling took 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, he could live for another 25 years or longer.
How would he ever know that?
He's a doctor, Mackie.
Yes.
So Pauling tried it. And shockingly, he began feeling livelier and healthier. He increased his dosage, eventually up to 18,000 milligrams per day, which is 300 times the RDA, or the recommended daily allowance.
That's an absurd amount. I didn't even think anyone could go that high.
He claimed that it prevented the colds that plagued him all his life as well. And he published a book called Vitamin C and the Common Cold, which urged people to megadose on vitamin C to eradicate the common cold.
Why wouldn't he publish a paper if he'd been so prolific?
Interesting question. You'd have to ask him. Soon, 50 million Americans were following Pauling's advice, and this was called the Linus Pauling effect. 30 years before this book was published, however, a research study was done on the very topic and concluded that there was no benefit to taking vitamin C to help with common colds. And after Pauling made these claims, scientists jumped into action and did what they do. They did some studies. 15 studies were done, and none of them supported the claim. Eventually, Pauling knocked it up another notch, and he claimed that it cured cancer as well. And this is really when the scientific community stopped trusting him. There was one study, so he got a letter from a doctor in Scotland who said that he decided to, for no particular reason, I guess, give some of his patients on cancer 10 milligrams of vitamin C. And those patients did better. So Pauling, who was at this point elected to the National Academy of Sciences, decided to try and use his clout to try and fast-track this guy's paper. But the National Academy of Sciences rejected it. And this is very big for a member of the Academy to have their paper rejected. It had only happened 3 times when this happened. So this was a big hit to both his ego and his scientific clout, especially since he tried to use his influence to get a paper through as opposed to, going through the standard operating procedures.
Yeah, no doubt. You know what this reminds me of? Have you heard of the Dr. Heimlich?
I have heard of Dr. Heimlich.
The man who created the Heimlich maneuver?
The Heimlich maneuver, yeah.
He actually, later on once his Heimlich maneuver gained enough notoriety, he actually started claiming things like This actually can cure asthma and other things, cancer,
Heimlich
whatnot.
maneuver?
Yeah. Yeah, the Heimlich maneuver can cure cancer, it can cure, and that reminds me of this. And yeah, he's not only still alive, but he's still spouting this stuff, so.
Heimlich? Really?
Yeah, I know.
Shocking.
He's ancient, but yeah, he's still alive. Carry on.
So after Pauling did this, and people just stopped trusting him, he continued. And he still had some hold with the media. So he moved on to, vitamin A and E and selenium, and claimed that, these could cure virtually all diseases. And this was really the birth of megadosing vitamins and the supplement culture. It's obviously evolved since then, but it all focuses around the idea that there's something that's easy to get that we aren't getting enough of, and something that can dramatically change and improve our lives. And often there are no obvious adverse effects, so people sort of say, why not? And that's where I think the supplement culture came from.
I tend to agree. It's an easy, intoxicating idea. You take this little pill and virtually no risks, but all of a sudden you're better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is that everything for your segment?
That's me.
All right. So, I decided to look into the epidemiology of the vitamin use. So that's the idea here is epidemiology kind of means like the surface. You're looking at the skin, just what happens to people who do this, not the mechanism behind it, just the cover. So I looked into how often, most of the time we only have any kind of statistics for Americans because they're most highly studied.
Right.
But just over half of Americans use a multivitamin or other supplement regularly. And here's some research about it. A study conducted in 161,808 postmenopausal women.
That's a lot.
Yeah. From Women's Health Initiative Clinics trials concluded that after 8 years of follow-up, multivitamin use has no or little influence on the risk of common cancers, cardiovascular disease, and total mortality.
Fascinating.
Yeah, a 2010 study from the Journal of Clinical Oncology suggested that multivitamin use during chemotherapy for stage 3 colon cancer has no effect on the outcomes of treatments. A study with 180,000 patients found no significant association between multivitamin use and mortality for all causes. The study also found no impact of multivitamin use on the risk of cardiovascular disease or cancer. Now here's where I do what I love. I try to turn it around. A University of Minnesota study of 38,000 people found a 2% increase in mortality rate for those taking multivitamins. So this is only correlation, but it says that if you take multivitamins, you're more likely to die, although it's likely that since it's been found that breast cancer users are more likely breast cancer users like they use the breast cancer patients tend to use multivitamins more often. People being sick might have contributed to that. So again, this is correlational. I don't think multivitamins, but you can see that if the study can be turned around, it demonstrates at least something. Mm-hmm. But unlike many vitamin products, vaccines actually do help prevent a lot of the things people use multivitamins for, like preventing cancer or sickness. Like the flu vaccine can cut down on the number of flu incidents by 67%. And now this is what I wanted. This is something I really want to talk about. This is something that was amazing that I found out. HPV, human papillomavirus, can actually cause several different cancers: cervical, vulva, vagina, penis, and anus, and oropharynx.
Yep, oropharynx.
Yeah, oropharynx. Yes, what a word. Cancers. So, and therefore, a vaccine for HPV can actually decrease the risk of cancers because you're actually immunizing against cancer. Because if the virus causes it, you immunize yourself against it, therefore. Now, here's the thing though. All of these cancers, a lot are caused by HPV. So, for instance, the total, this is in the, I believe it's from 2008 or 2002 to 2004. The total number of cervical cancer cases was 11,967. And 11,500 of those were attributable to HPV.
Wow.
So that's a lot, most of,
Yeah.
a vast majority of those are caused by HPV. So you can immunize against a lot of cancer. We could almost extinguish it. And similarly for the vulva, 3,136 cases were total.
Yep.
And HPV caused 1,600.
Wow.
Vagina.
A little over half, yeah.
729. HPV, 500.
Wow.
Penis, 1,046. HPV, 400. Less so, but still. We've got an anus cancer, which is a
Anal cancer.
What?
I don't know. It just sounds funny when you say anus cancer.
It's proper. There's nothing wrong with that.
Anal cancer.
Anal cancer is a thing. Anus cancer is possessive. All right. So we're now suddenly explicit. I think we've reached our quota for those words, so I'm just going to say A from now on. So, the total was 4,700, and HPV caused 4,617.
Wow.
So,
that's a lot, again.
And oropharynx is 11,720, 7,400. So you're looking at a huge reduction.
Yeah, large
Apparently,
proportion.
HPV causes 5% of all cancers.
That's, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, viruses are the cause of a lot of cancers. Epstein-Barr virus causes a lot of lymphoma as well.
Well, there you go. I'm sure there's plenty we don't even know about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, try getting vaccinated instead of maybe taking a multivitamin. It's only once, and it's
Have
only a
you
little bit of a prick.
you gotten your flu shot?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
I
have
see.
to.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, game section. All right, welcome to the game section. So, Keegan, last week you challenged me to learn as much as I could about xylene in 5 minutes or less in our 5-minute challenge, where you challenge me once every week, and then the next week I challenge you to learn everything you can about a certain topic in 5 minutes or less. So,
I know how the 5-minute challenge works, Matthew.
I know, but some of the new viewers might not know. I thought I'd explain.
Breaking the fourth wall? Breaking the fourth wall?
I think you're supposed to do that in radio.
I know. I'm just
It's called audience participation here. All right. So here's what I learned.
about xylene.
Xylene. Not terribly interesting.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's an aromatic hydrocarbon, and it basically looks like a hexagon with 2 little sticks coming off of it. If you're not familiar with chemistry nomenclature.
Mm-hmm. That's what we talk about, hexagons and sticks.
Hexagons and sticks. There's 1 hexagon and 2 sticks, so keep that in mind. If you've got a lot of xylene, it's sort of like a liquid, and it's slightly greasy, and it's colorless. Xylos means wood in Greek, which is where it comes from. Mm-hmm. And it was discovered as a component of wood tar. It was named in 1851. It is about 1% of crude oil. Several million tons are produced annually in Singapore. Xylenes are produced by a process called dihydrocyclodimerization. Yes. Dihydrocyclodimerization. And it's done by methylating, toluene and benzene. So,
cool.
There's a couple applications, used as a solvent, and it can be substituted for toluene. It's often used as an additive.
Toluene is, I think, so a benzene is just a hexagon. A toluene is, I think, a hexagon with 1 stick.
Exactly, yes.
And then a xylene is a hexagon with 2 sticks.
Exactly. And it's an organic solvent, so.
Right.
It's often added to rubbers, adhesives, and paints, and it's flammable, but it's not very deadly to ingest, so enjoy.
Hooray!
I mean, no, don't try it home. All these legal warnings.
Mind the Gap does not endorse drinking xylene. So, just for, trivia sake, the chemical formula is C8H10.
All right, so quiz time. Okay, so this quiz, I'm calling it Almost Perfect.
Ooh.
So one of the definitions of supplement is something that completes or enhances something else when added to it. So I'm going as broad as possible with this definition to make my quiz. And the idea here is I'm going to give you the name of an unfinished work and maybe a couple more clues. And then I'm going to ask you the creator of that work.
Okay.
It might be an artist or an author or a scientist.
Okay.
And then you give me then you can you tell me what that is, and you can get half marks if you want by asking for a hint. So I'm not going to give you there's a hint that I've got hidden away, okay, and you can ask for it if you'd like.
But it cost me a half a point.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so the 6 questions here. Number 1. The Symphony number 10.
Beethoven.
Yes, I would have also taken Gustav Mahler and Franz Schubert, because none of them finished their 10th symphony.
Yeah, it's
yes, the Curse of the Ninth.
Curse of the Ninth, exactly.
Yes, Curse of the Ninth Symphony. Nobody can finish their 10th.
Yeah.
So yeah, the hint for that was the artist lost his hearing at an early age. All right. So this one, actually, the name of this work contains the name of the person. So it's going to be Blank's Last Theorem.
Oh.
You've heard of this. You know you have.
Oh, I have. Oh my gosh. Pascal?
No.
Oh. All right. Give me the hint.
All right. The theorem states that no 3 positive integers a, b, and c can satisfy the equation a to the power of n plus b to the power of n equals c to the power of n.
Oh, I totally have heard of this. Oh.
I don't know how to say his last name properly. It's probably very simple, but I could say it 2 different ways. Anyway, so.
All right, I don't know.
Pierre de Fermat. Fermat?
Oh.
Something like that? Is that it? It sounds French.
Fermat's theorem.
Fermat's last theorem. Yes, He was a mathematician. And yeah, this was actually scrawled in the margin of a book.
Yes, and people have been trying to figure it out find a proof for it for years, and no one's been able to find it.
Yeah, he's like, he said something to the akin to, I could prove this, but there's not enough room in this margin. And then he died, and they found it later, and he's like, tell us.
And it's true, right? They can't prove it, but it seems to be true.
As far as we can tell now, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, without a proof, we can't know.
Yeah.
So, the novella, The Aftermath, made in 1963, and the novel, The House on Value Street, in 1970, both unfinished works by the same author.
What was the novella?
The Aftermath, made in 1963.
I have no clue. I'm going to need the hint.
All right. This person spells their name with a PH instead of a V.
I have no clue. None at all.
Stephen King.
Oh!
Thought you get the clue and you just put it together because he writes so many things.
Oh, that hurts.
All right. These are all people I picked who you should know about.
Okay.
These are all very
Because I was
known.
like, man, there's so many authors.
All right. This next one is one I don't think you'll get. And then I've got one later that I think you will get.
Okay.
For sure. Okay. So the movie, The Game of Death, that was being produced in 1978. The Game of Death.
And what do I have to write? Or what I have to tell you?
You have to, okay. This is kind of weird because the person
Like
I'm
the
looking
director
for
or
was the
something?
director, writer, an actor, a lot of components. The showrunner, so to speak, the person in charge, the person making this happen.
And it was called The Game of Death?
Yes, in 1978. Now think of reasons why a movie or a work might not be made.
Because he died? Who died then? I have no clue. Give me the hint.
All right, this is a famous Chinese man, famous for martial arts. What?
I freaking knew it. Now I just gotta remember his name.
Oh, no.
Is it
Come
Bruce
on.
Lee?
Yeah, it's Bruce Lee. All right, half point.
Half point.
Half point. Okay. So, number 5, this is the second last. These are 2 songs, Free as a Bird and Real Love.
Free as a Bird and Real Love.
Yes.
Are these like pop songs?
Who knows? I do.
All right, give me the hint.
All right, the hint is these demos were later released by the band in 1990. This band contains 4 members.
The Beatles.
Yes, the Beatles. Right. You're terrible. All right, so this is your gimme. This is your gimme. Right. The book Mortality.
Oh, Hitchens.
Yes, Christopher Hitchens. And the hint was his favorite drink is Johnny Walker Black. I hoped I hadn't had to use that. So
I so want to read Mortality.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
I have it.
Ooh.
I should mail it to you.
You should.
Right. Is that a thing? Can you use postage?
Sure.
Is that a thing still?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm told at least.
Okay. So, what'd you get? You got what?
50%.
50%?
2 correct, 2 half points, 2 incorrect.
Okay. All right. Just scraping by then.
Yep.
Not a bad quiz though, right?
That was good.
Kind of peripherally related.
Pop culture, man. Pop culture.
Oh, I know. That was why I wanted to make them all like super known.
Yeah.
You know, Beethoven, Bruce Lee, Beatles. You've heard of all these people.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess that's everything then.
Yeah, cool. So email comments and questions to mindthegapposts@gmail.com. Our next show will be called Bippity Boppity BS. Subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, or the podcast feed of your choice, and be sure to like or rate us depending on your platform. Thanks for listening.
Vitamins and minerals can help you on your way. They're in vegetables, dairy foods, meat and fruit. Just ask your mum today.
I'm vitamin A. Ooh, I'll help you see. Yes, I'll help you grow. Germs don't like me.
Oh, I'm vitamin B. Oh, so if you're feeling low, no energy, look for our famous group. Oh, called the vitamin Bs. Oh.